The HOA fined me $500 for my truck, so I bought the street they drive on. The letter was taped to my front door. It was bright orange, meant to humiliate me in front of the neighbors. It read, "Violation notice. Commercial vehicle parked in driveway. Fine $500. Immediate payment required or lien will be placed on your property." It was signed by Barbara, the president of the Homeowners Association. Barbara was the kind of woman who measured people's grass with a ruler and patrolled the neighborhood in a golf cart looking for victims. I walked over to her house to explain. I told her I was a land surveyor and my truck wasn't a commercial vehicle. It was my daily driver. I told her I had nowhere else to park. She slammed the door in my face. She shouted through the wood, "Read the bylaws, Jack. No work trucks. Pay the fine or I'll take your house. I have the best lawyers in the state." I stood on her porch, furious. She thought she held all the power because she controlled the HOA board. She thought she owned the neighborhood. But Barbara made a mistake. She challenged a land surveyor to a battle about property lines. I went to the county archives that afternoon. I spent 3 days digging through dusty maps from the 1990s, and I found something incredible. A clerical error made 20 years ago by the original developer meant that the HOA didn't actually own the main entrance road into the subdivision. In fact, nobody owned it. It was a distressed asset held by a bankrupt holding company. I called the holding company and bought the road for $5,000. Barbara wants to charge me for parking in my own driveway. Fine. Wait until she finds out how much I'm going to charge her to drive on my road. Here is the story of how I bankrupted a corrupt HOA by setting up a toll booth. My wife, Sarah, and I moved into Oakwood Estates 6 months ago. It was supposed to be our forever home. It was a gated community in Texas with manicured lawns, a community pool, and big oak trees lining the streets. We put our life savings into the down payment. The house was perfect. The problem was the government, or rather the micro-government known as the HOA. On the day we moved in, Barbara pulled up in her golf cart. She didn't bring a fruit basket. She brought a clipboard. "Welcome," she said, her eyes scanning our moving boxes. "Make sure those boxes are broken down and hidden in the garage by 5 p.m. Trash cans visible from the street are a $50 fine." "Nice to meet you too," I said, trying to be polite. "I'm Jack." "I know who you are," she said coldly. "I approved your application. Just remember, Jack, we have standards here. This isn't the trailer park. We maintain property values." Over the next few months, life became a prison. Barbara cited us for everything. Grass 2 inches too high, $50 fine. Christmas lights up past January 5th, $100 fine. Dog barking for more than 5 minutes, $75 fine. Most of the neighbors were terrified of her. They paid the fines to avoid trouble. Barbara used the HOA funds like her personal piggy bank, hosting lavish board dinners that regular residents weren't invited to, and planting expensive exotic flowers only in front of her own house. But the war truly started when I bought my new work truck. I'm a surveyor. I map land boundaries for construction projects. My truck has a toolbox in the back and a small yellow light on the roof. It is essential for my livelihood. One Tuesday evening, I parked it in my driveway. The next morning, the orange sticker was on my door. I went to the monthly HOA meeting to appeal the fine. The room was packed with angry neighbors, but Barbara sat at the head table like a queen, banging her gavel. "Appeal denied," she said, before I even finished my sentence. "Section 4, paragraph 2, no commercial vehicles, trailers, or boats shall be visible from the street. It brings down the property value. Park it somewhere else, or we will tow it." "Somewhere else?" I argued. "The nearest public parking is 2 miles away. You want me to walk 2 miles every morning with my heavy equipment?" "That's not my problem," Barbara smirked. "Pay the $500 by Friday, or we place a lien on your house. If you don't pay the lien, we foreclose. It's simple math, Jack." I looked around the room. The other board members, Barbara's minions, were nodding. They enjoyed this. They liked seeing a grown man beg. "You really want to talk about property values and boundaries?" I asked, my voice lowering. "Okay, Barbara, let's talk about boundaries." I walked out of that meeting. I didn't pay the fine. Instead, I went to work. In my line of work, we have a saying: the map is not the territory. Just because a fence is somewhere doesn't mean the property line is there. The next morning, I drove to the county clerk's office. I pulled the plat maps for Oakwood Estates. A plat map is the official blueprint of a neighborhood, showing exactly where every property line begins and ends. I started tracing the history of the subdivision. It was built in 2004 by a company called Lone Star Developments. I noticed something odd on the map. The individual lots for the houses were clearly marked as private property owned by the residents. The common areas, like the pool and the park, were marked as Parcel A, owned by the HOA. But the road, Oakwood Drive, was marked as Parcel B. Usually, in a private gated community, the road is transferred to the HOA after construction is finished so they can maintain it, or it is dedicated to the city to become a public road. I looked at the transfer deeds. I saw the transfer of the pool, Parcel A, to the HOA in 2006, but I couldn't find a deed transferring Parcel B, the road. I dug deeper. I pulled the bankruptcy filings for Lone Star Developments. The developer went bust in 2007 during the housing market crash. In the chaos of the liquidation, assets were sold off or abandoned. It seemed that in the mess of paperwork, Parcel B was forgotten. The developer dissolved, and the ownership of the road remained stuck in the name of a defunct shell company called LSD Holdings. The HOA had been paving the road, cleaning the road, and policing the road for 15 years, but they didn't own the road. They were technically trespassing every time they drove on it. I verified this with 3 different clerks. They all confirmed it. The road was an orphaned asset. My heart started racing. I asked the clerk, "Who is the trustee for LSD Holdings now?" "It looks like the assets were bundled into a liquidation trust managed by a bank in Dallas," the clerk said. "They probably don't even know they still own this strip of asphalt. To them, it's a liability because of the potential property taxes." I got the phone number for the liquidation officer. I called him from the parking lot. "Hi," I said. "My name is Jack. I'm a surveyor. I noticed you have a distressed asset on your books, Parcel B in Plat Map 405. It's basically a strip of non-buildable land. I'd like to take it off your hands." The officer sounded bored. "Parcel B? Let me check. Yeah, we have it listed as residual wasteland. We've been trying to close this file for a decade. Make me an offer." "I'll give you $5,000 cash, and I'll cover the transfer taxes." $5,000? He laughed. "For a piece of road? Buddy, if you wire the money today, I'll overnight you the deed. I just want this off my desk." I wired the money from my phone right there in the parking lot. 3 days later, a FedEx envelope arrived at my house. Inside was the warranty deed for Oakwood Drive. I held the paper in my hands. It was heavy. I walked to the window and looked out at the street. Barbara was driving by in her golf cart, writing another ticket for someone's trash can. She was driving on my land. I picked up the phone and called a fencing company. "Yes," I told the contractor, "I need to install an automated boom gate, a toll booth. Yes, commercial grade. How soon can you be here?" I scheduled the installation for a Saturday morning at 6 a.m. I wanted to make sure Barbara woke up to a new reality. The fencing crew was professional. Within 2 hours, they had bolted a heavy-duty, automated yellow boom gate across the entrance of Oakwood Drive. Next to it, I placed a large, reflective metal sign that I had custom-made. It read, "Private property, toll road, access fee, $20. Residents with valid passes, free. HOA board members, $100. I sat in the lawn chair next to the gate, sipping coffee, waiting for the show to begin. At 8 a.m., the first car approached. It was Mr. Henderson, a nice old guy who lived 3 houses down. He He rolled down his window, looking confused. "Jack?" he asked. "What is this? Is the road closed?" "Morning, Mr. Henderson," I smiled. "Actually, I bought the road. The HOA doesn't own it. But don't worry, for neighbors, it's free." I handed him a remote clicker. "Here is your lifetime pass, on the house." Mr. Henderson laughed, took the clicker, and drove through. He hated the HOA as much as I did. 10 minutes later, the inevitable happened. Barbara came speeding down the street in her white Mercedes. She saw the gate, she saw the sign, she slammed on her brakes, screeching to a halt just inches from the yellow bar. She jumped out of the car, her face a mask of pure fury. "Jack!" she shrieked. "Have you lost your mind? Take this down immediately. You are blocking emergency access. You are violating a dozen bylaws. I'm calling the police." "Go ahead, Barbara," I said calmly. "Call them." She dialed 911, screaming that a maniac had barricaded the neighborhood. 20 minutes later, 2 squad cars pulled up with lights flashing. A sergeant stepped out, hand on his holster. Barbara ran to him, pointing a shaking finger at me. "Arrest him! He has hijacked our community! This is public endangerment!" The sergeant walked over to me. "Sir, you can't block a public road. You need to take this down or I'll have to cite you." "Officer," I said, reaching into my cooler, "this isn't a public road, and it isn't an HOA road. It is a private driveway owned by me." I handed him the certified warranty deed and the survey map stamped by the county clerk. The sergeant looked at the deed, he looked at the map, he looked at the road, then he looked at Barbara. "Ma'am," the sergeant said, "according to these documents, this man owns this parcel of land. It's marked as Parcel B. He has the right to secure his property." "That's impossible," she screamed. "We've lived here for 15 years. We pay taxes." "You pay taxes on your house, ma'am," the sergeant corrected, "not on the road. This is a civil matter. We can't intervene in a property dispute unless there's a breach of the peace." The sergeant turned to me. "Sir, just make sure you allow emergency vehicles through if needed." "Absolutely, officer," I said. The police got back in their cars and left. Barbara stood there, mouth open, watching the taillights fade. She was trapped. She was inside the neighborhood, but she couldn't leave without driving through my gate. "Open the gate, Jack," she hissed. "Sure," I pointed to the sign. "The fee for HOA board members is $100, cash or credit. I am not paying you a cent. Then you can back up or you can walk, but my road is for paying customers only." She turned purple. She got back in her car, reversed aggressively, and drove back to her house. I knew exactly what she was doing. She was calling the HOA's lawyer. The war had officially begun. On Monday morning, I was served with a lawsuit, emergency injunction to remove obstruction. The HOA was suing me. I hired a real estate attorney named Saul. He wasn't cheap, but he looked at my evidence and started laughing uncontrollably. "Jack," he said, wiping tears from his eyes, "this is the slam dunk of the century. They have no case. In fact, we are going to countersue them for 15 years of trespassing and unauthorized alterations to your land." We showed up at the courthouse on Wednesday. Barbara was there with the HOA's high-priced legal team. She wouldn't even look at me. The judge, a stern woman named Judge Reynolds, looked over the documents. "Counselor," the judge said to the HOA lawyer, "do you have a deed proving ownership of Oakwood Drive?" "Well, Your Honor," the lawyer stammered, "it is an implied easement by necessity. The residents have used that road for 20 years. "That may be true for the residents," the judge said, "but Mr. Jack here has granted access to the residents. The issue is the HOA board attempting to enforce fines on a property they do not own. Let me get this straight. You fined this man for parking a truck on his own driveway, and in response, he bought the street." "Yes, Your Honor," the lawyer sighed. He knew he was fighting a losing battle. "I find that the defendant has valid title to the land," the judge ruled. "The injunction is denied." Furthermore, the HOA is hereby ordered to cease any maintenance or policing of Oakwood Drive immediately, as that would constitute trespassing. Barbara gasped. Without the ability to police the road, the HOA couldn't enforce street parking rules. They couldn't tow cars. Their power was gone. But I wasn't done. After the hearing, I approached Barbara and her lawyer in the hallway. "We need to talk," I said. "What do you want?" Barbara spat. "You won. Are you happy?" "Not yet," I said. "You see, now that I own the road, I've been looking at the maintenance costs. Repaving is expensive. I'm thinking about leasing the road to a local trucking company as a shortcut. Heavy 18-wheelers running through the neighborhood day and night. It would be perfectly legal." Barbara's face went pale. "You wouldn't." "Try me," I said. "Or we can make a deal." "What deal?" the lawyer asked. "The HOA buys the road from me," I said. "Fine. How much? 5,000? 10,000? "No," I smiled. "The price is $200,000. "That's extortion!" Barbara screamed. "That's business," I corrected. "Supply and demand. I have the supply, you have the demand. Plus, I have conditions. Condition 1, all fines against me are dropped immediately. Condition 2, the HOA bylaws are amended to allow work trucks. Condition 3, Barbara resigns as president, effective immediately." The lawyer looked at Barbara. "We have to do it. If he brings commercial trucks in here, property values will drop to zero. The homeowners will sue the board for mismanagement. This is the only way out." Barbara looked like she had swallowed a lemon. She looked at me, then at her lawyer. She knew she was beaten. "Fine," she whispered. "I can't hear you," I said. "Fine!" They cut the check the next day. $200,000. From an initial investment of $5,000. That is a 3,900% return on investment in 1 week. The check cleared on a Thursday morning. Seeing $200,000 hit my bank account was a surreal feeling. I immediately paid off the remaining mortgage on my house. At 35 years old, I was debt-free, living in a paid-off house, all thanks to the greed of my neighbor. As for Barbara, she didn't stick around long. The humiliation was too much for her. 2 weeks after she resigned from the board, a for sale sign appeared on her lawn. I watched from my window as the moving trucks loaded up her expensive furniture. Rumor has it she moved to a retirement community in Florida. I pity the residents there. I'm sure she is already measuring their grass with a ruler. With Barbara gone, the neighborhood changed overnight. We elected Mr. Henderson, the nice old man I gave the free pass to, as the new HOA president. The first thing he did was rewrite the bylaws. Work trucks are now allowed. You can paint your front door whatever color you want. The board dinners were canceled, and the budget surplus was used to lower our monthly dues. Oakwood Estates went from being a prison to being a community. Last weekend, we had a block party. People were grilling burgers in their driveways, kids were riding bikes in the street, and there wasn't a single orange violation sticker in sight. I sat on my porch, drinking a cold beer, looking at the street. Technically, I don't own the road anymore. I sold it back to the HOA. But every time I drive on it, I smile. This experience taught me a valuable lesson about power. People like Barbara rely on fear and ignorance. They assume you won't read the fine print. They assume you won't check the maps. They assume you would just roll over and pay the fine. But in the world of real estate and law, assumptions are dangerous. Information is the ultimate weapon. I didn't beat Barbara because I was richer or louder than her. I beat her because I was willing to go to the county clerk's office and read the dusty documents that nobody else cared about. So the next time someone tries to bully you with a rule book, don't just get angry, get curious. Read the rules better than they do. Find the loophole, find the map. Because sometimes the road to freedom creates a toll for your enemies. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story of malicious compliance and neighborhood justice, please hit that like button and subscribe. I have plenty more stories about land disputes and legal loopholes coming soon. See you in the next one.